As was mentioned in the last video, object security relies on ownership and sharing, in addition to CRUD permissions. While CRUD permissions control the ways in which a user can interact with an object, ownership determines which users can access a particular object in the first place. Think of CRUD permissions as broad rules that affect an entire class of objects, whereas ownership defines access and visibility for a specific object. Ownership is first determined by organization-wide sharing defaults. These let you configure whether certain objects are publicly available, public read-only, or private. Imagine objects as different types of transportation. Anyone should be able to access a public bus, just as anyone can see publicly available objects. Meanwhile, a privately owned car can only be driven by the owner and people the owner has given driving permissions to. Similarly, a private record can only be accessed by the owner and users that share that permission. When setting org-wide sharing rules, the default availability of each object should be restricted to the level of the user with the least access, as greater access can be granted later by sharing. For example, in an organization where data privacy is important, you should set contacts to private to restrict visibility only to the contact's owner. Visibility to a particular private contact can be further extended with other options Salesforce provides. Ownership only matters for public read-only and private objects. By default, an object is first owned by whomever created it. This person will have full access to the owned object, but may still be restricted by CRUD permissions. For example, if the creator's profile does not include delete permissions, then they cannot delete objects they create of that type, even if they are the owner. In our next video, we will cover how access can be granted to users beyond the initial owner using sharing rules and hierarchical sharing. For this demonstration, we will run through how to set up basic object sharing in Salesforce. For this, you'll have to go to your Setup menu, and then search for Sharing Settings. In your sharing settings, you could see the current sharing settings for every object, custom and standard, in the system. Change this by clicking Edit. We will use Contact as an example. Setting Contact to Public Read-Write means that all users within your Salesforce system will have access to read or update the contact object depending on whatever CRUD rules that they have set. As a reminder, you can brush up on CRUD rules by going to our previous video. Notice that there are two columns, one for internal access and one for external access. Internal access applies to Salesforce users within the system, those that would log into Salesforce regularly, as we have done here. External access applies to other users outside of Salesforce. They could be automated systems that connect outside of Salesforce, or Salesforce community users. For now, let's just focus on internal access. Going back to Contact, we can change it to Public Read-Only. Public Read-Only means that all users within the Salesforce instance have read-only access to Contact, but the Contact owner will have full access depending on what CRUD permissions they have assigned. Private restricts visibility of the contact object to only the contact owner. When a contact is set to Controlled by Parent, that means that the owner of the contact's parent account will define what or who has access to that particular contact.